the standard that I set was like, but you should feel satiated and full from me. And if you're not, I'm not saying it's my fault, but I'm saying, well, let's sit down and have a
We need to talk about it.
Correct. Let's have a communication around what else you can do, but what I can do, and let's move forward from there. Hi, best friend.
Hi, best friend.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Anything Goes with Anna Rose and Caitlin Bashara.
Everyone's going to start calling me
Caitlin, I know. Sorry, sis. Katy Bear, Caitlin.
Katy Bear, Caitlin.
Katy, Caitlin. But
B.
Mrs. B. Yeah.
I'm going to be Mrs. B, Mrs. P.
Mrs. B. There's a brand.
There's a brand.
That's a brand.
That's a fucking
Oh,
business.
that's a business. No, but welcome back. As promised last week, I said I was bringing her back. Here's the truth. I actually texted her today. I put the post up. I said, let's do a Q&A because you see my statistics now. You see everything. So you see my statistics. And I don't know if have you ever seen, do you look at the podcasts? Yeah.
You don't even go on the podcast anymore. I'm doing all the other ones.
Do you know your statistics? I'm
I'm
checked. I am a numbers gal.
This
But-
is why we get along so well.
Yeah,
We love the
100%.
numbers.
Yeah, we love the numbers. And
Love
the one that we did together actually is one of the like most recent highest listened to because it's spicy and we love each other and it's wild. So I brought her back, and this is genuinely like, I know I said it on the last one, but I absolutely want to make this a regular thing because I think it's sisterhood. And it's real. And I think the biggest thing I know we always get whenever people see us out or we're all together, especially like the Besties crew, is the kings are back. The kings are back for the spicy episode. But is the radical honesty and the radical authenticity that we have between us, like all of us as well, and how the conversations we have. And so whenever I've done anything, like we've had a tipsy Q&A on Instagram or whatever, but people are like, I wish I had that relationship or could ask these questions of my besties.
Yeah.
Because we absolutely sit in the fire consistently.
Yeah.
And we'll have the honest, radical conversations. So full disclosure, the Kings have just walked back in the door and we are going to keep rolling.
Not that changes a thing.
No, it doesn't change a thing. But I think the power actually in recognizing that is this is the episode where, and I feel very responsible and clear on this, that I did the Bestie Q&A and literally 70% of the questions were about sex. And I actually started really maturely and didn't make it about that.
We went to business first. We started with business and
now we're here.
Now
and we're going to answer all of this in front of our kings. So the second thing I want to say is obviously not trigger warning, but like this is not an episode to listen to in front of your children.
Yeah.
And also the second thing I will say is if anything we say, because we will be very honest in answering your own questions. These are questions that I think are relative and necessary for so many people. And if not, it will be of interest to you. But if anything activates you, and I use activate instead of trigger because I don't like how like vigorously people use the word trigger anymore, lean in. Right? Lean in, because what triggers us, myself included, and things still do, sets us free. Yeah. So, Caitlin, I'm going to kick it right off.
Kick it right off, sis.
She doesn't know the questions.
How about it? I don't know the questions.
Okay. We're going to start. We're going to start with the porn one.
Okay.
You don't know this, but there's a porn one.
There's a porn one.
So, what's your view on men with porn addictions that replace their need for sex with partner? Can I actually just say as well, please no. Sorry, I know where we're going to go with this, I feel like.
Yeah.
We are technically answering one specific person's question.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is yours and any of you that ask the question as we answer them, please know nothing is obviously personal.
No.
So don't feel like vulnerable or seen, because please also know that your question is such a beautiful, necessary, poignant, massive issue for most. Because if one of us is feeling it or going through it, most of us are. So thank you for asking all of your questions that we're about to answer.
And it is brave and courageous to ask those questions. And yeah, you should be proud of yourself to do that. And I love that, even like to honor you and I, in the sense that whoever this beautiful woman is, she felt safe enough to ask that question.
Yeah.
So
we love you.
Yeah.
And you're amazing.
Yeah.
And just know the permission is that so many women will feel this. And can I also just say, actually, in my life, every time I'm really honest about something, women go, oh my God, that's a thing. Then they ask their man and they didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, please know this could absolutely actually be a really necessary, important conversation and segue into a very honest, necessary conversation with your man.
Yeah.
So to reiterate.
Yeah. Hit me with the question again.
What's your view on men with porn addictions, which replaces their need for sex with a partner?
So we're being very specific with answering that question, or are we kind of talking about like porn in general?
Well, I think you have to. Like, I think
okay.
So let's.
So my point is, I'm talking about porn addiction.
Well, if you look at the micro is what's your view on men with porn addictions, and then obviously it's replacing their need for sex with a partner. But the macro issue is that men have addictions with porn, and it's affecting their sex with their partner. Yeah. I think that's what you should focus on.
Yeah. Well, I actually do have a really strong view on this.
Same.
So what I have come to learn about in regards to porn is porn removes the desperation from men in order to court a woman, and that desperation and need for sex, right? And that like requirement of like I need to ravish someone and something, right? Because of the porn industry and all of the avenues, like what even is the porn industry these days, right?
We'll get into that too.
We've got OnlyFans and all of these Fansly. I only know that because gotta close
neighbors.
We got neighbors.
Who's neighbors? Who knows? But there's neighbors.
There's neighbors. But yeah, so like a man at the click of his fingers can access and get off on it, whatever it is that their kink is or whatever. And then there's kinks. So there's like, so there is that. And I think when it gets to the point where porn it is directly impacting the intercourse that you are absolutely not having in your relationship,
or you are having, which doesn't feel safe or real or true for you because you haven't been open and honest about I'll get into that. But
so I think if it's a porn addiction, like there is some serious fucking deep, honest communication required. And like your man has to, and you need to be able to understand that if you are at that point where you want to have the conversation with him that like, I want to fix this, like I see this as an issue. It is an issue. If you are not having sex with your man because he has a porn addiction and he's getting himself off rather than getting off with you, that is an absolute fucking
red flag. Yeah.
But also like, which is really big, and I will validate you like profusely, that if you are going to open up that conversation with him and you want him to be open and honest with you, like you're going to have to hear some things that are probably going to be really hard to hear. And you're going to either you are absolutely going to need to have a support person or a support network, whether that be a bestie or a sister or a therapist
or
all the above to help you get through that. But I think if you want to work through this with him, as big and as hard, because it will be really hard for you, like if he will not open up to you, if he can feel the judgment, and he can feel that it's not safe for him to do so, So there's a lot in this, but I think like it's not okay for one. So if it's not, if you cannot get to the point where you are going to work together to heal it,
Yeah.
like it's done, because that is not a safe relationship. That is absolutely not a relationship.
Correct.
And if you are not choosing it, then you're choosing it.
Yeah. So there's there's like 17 layers and levels to me.
It's a really big
On this
it's a really big question.
And I said to Katy, like off camera, on camera, like setting this up, I separated the sex questions from the business and the love and the bestie questions, because this is actually something that's affecting every relationship, I think, in the world, because of the sex industry right now. And there's a question around that as well. But so the question also was, what's your view on men with porn addictions? Nothing in the world is something I judge. Both of us,
no
right?
judgment. Absolutely.
So my view on men with porn addictions is zero judgment. But my view on a woman that allows a boundary to be crossed relentlessly in relationship of a man with a porn addiction is where I step in. And what I would offer is that I don't agree with porn, and this is like controversial, but I think if I'm in relationship with you, I'm going to be wet enough, satiated enough, turned on enough by myself and in my life and by my man that he doesn't feel the need or necessity to seek anything outside of myself. Not to look at a woman in a bar. Like, men are naturally going to, and that's safe and fine.
Mate, I look at women in bars.
Yes, she did. And dance classes. And dance classes.
Yeah, let us. This is my business.
Yes. And that's beautiful and safe.
Absolutely.
And that's the level you get to have.
That is also a point where you can honestly just like honor the fact that, like, wow, that is a really attractive man, or that is a beautiful woman, without it being like sexualizing it and being like, that's
the wounded,
the
wounded response. But I think for me, I know that and again, so there's no blame. So here it's like I hear the activation and the trigger of like, well, then you're blaming the man and he shouldn't be watching the porn. No, absolutely not. But also, as a woman, I take responsibility to satiate myself in life and sex and relationship. But I take responsibility to satiate my man. Now, I feel this question doesn't serve you, because it's like, I feel like you want to and you're not given permission to because of his problem. So women in that scenario, put that aside for sure. But for the woman that his man actually wants to love you and ravish you and have that deep, desirable sex relationship and energy with you, for a lot of us, we carry that wound where it's like we're tired and we're overworked and it's like, not tonight, and we push them away. Now, again, that should never make it okay for a man to then go and get that, consistently with porn. But also, and I know I activate women a lot when I say this, like, we have to take responsibility as women in the home, that if we are saying no consistently and pushing them away, then they are going to go somewhere, because all of us are sexual creatures, all of us. And if that's turned off for you as a woman, then there's hormonally, there could be something. Like, it's not just like, what do we laugh because we are hornbags, but we always say, like, if you're not horny, you're not healthy. But there's so many levels to that. Are your hormones off? Are you in the throes of newborn? But if you've got, like a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old and a 17-year-old, and you're still telling your partner, no, 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 well, actually, there's an unworthiness level to that. There's a hormone issue to that. There's more to that. So first of all, this is what I'm saying. There's layers, right? Because people that listen and it's like, this is all my fault. No, I'm not saying that whatsoever. But I'm saying as the feminine, we get to take responsibility in the home, to take responsibility to satiate and lubricate ourselves and our men. Like, what a gift. What a beautiful conversation to have. And then the man or the masculine, whatever that is, because there's female and female, absolutely has to take responsibility that the fact he has at the click of his fingers access to things that aren't healthy and that get him off too far. Like all of that is not okay. So my view on men with porn addictions is that I don't agree with porn. And I won't get into like the semantics of the conversations I have had in my relationships, but my boundary is that you don't watch porn. And if you want to watch porn, you watch us.
Preach.
Like if you want to watch porn,
yes,
I will
absolutely
film the video, right?
Yeah.
But what you said off camera
1000%.
is, which I love, Katy off camera was also like, yes, and do you remember what you said?
No.
How you said, yes, but a woman can't just like put on her heels and a lipstick and film it if there's that underlying issue.
Yeah.
Right? Because don't also then rush out and be like, yeah, okay, well then I'll film. And it's not about filming porn. It's about filming an intimate, beautiful, loving, healthy, natural thing that we all do to satiate the man when he needs, because his needs are bigger than ours. They are. The masculine has higher needs than ours, more needs than ours.
Like, and they're on a 24-hour hormonal cycle
of testosterone.
Like they're on a 24-hour cycle. We're on a 28-day cycle. Like we are not like clocking over every 24 hours. Like, all right, let's go again. Like we are absolutely different human beings.
Yeah.
But like and this is why like I love my work with like dancing with women and beautifully I'm so supported by my husband in what I do with these women, and that we say all the time, it's so much more than dancing because as the woman, like if you are standing there as the woman and you are like, I turn myself on, I love my life, I love myself, and I show up for my man and he still doesn't, then that is something that either like your work, you're good.
Doesn't desire her.
Doesn't desire her, absolutely.
Ravish her.
Then there's something else.
Yeah.
But what I always stand so true to with my women is that you cannot possibly expect someone else to turn you on if you cannot turn yourself on. And like when I work with these women in my dance classes, like the amount of women who like how big it is for them to even look at themselves in the mirror. Like, and yes, you are in a group of like 12 other women, and I'm like we're going here and we are touching ourselves. And
we call it the full send.
Like the full send. But as the leader of that group, I'm like, I am absolutely going there. Like I will always go there because like I can't possibly expect you to do that if I won't do that in front of you. But
so we as women, I'm like, and so to like, we cannot expect our masculine. And so I say masculine because I'm like, I know there's woman, right? So please know that. But like as the masculine energy, we cannot expect him to go there. If we will not go there ourselves.
And like to the point of like when you are actually in those moments, like you have to know what feels good for you. Like you can't expect someone like they're not fucking mind readers either. But out of all of this, like if we just circle right back to the beginning of the question, that really comes back to that, like that's just a really big fucking question, and there's just so much to that.
But I think dot pointer, right? So for me, because it's a question about porn, and so just so you know, and I know we both agree, it's like I don't agree with porn.
No, porn is not
okay.
No.
So I don't agree with porn, and that's a boundary that I hold. So to answer the question, like very direct, because there's like the secondary question that someone completely different asked, which is so powerfully related to it. What's your view on men with porn addictions? There's zero judgment, but it's a boundary that as the woman and the feminine, I hold in my relationship and my body and my household, that I don't agree with it. Now, I didn't nag about it. I don't criticize about it. And I don't come from a wounded place, but the boundary and the standard that I set was like, I don't agree with it. And I think if you feel like you're consistently watching it, which was not the truth for my men in general, so we're not making it personal, but it's like, as just the woman, the conversation that I had personally and the boundary that I've always set, it's not new, it's not old. Like the standard that I set was like, but you should feel satiated and full from me. And if you're not, I'm not saying it's my fault, but I'm saying, well, let's sit down and have a
we need to talk about it.
Correct. Let's have a communication around what else you can do, but what I can do, and let's move forward from this. So that's to answer that, because we could go on and on.
Let's move on.
But the next question
but also like very honoring you and loving you, and you're really brave, and
no, like
you've got this.
I will say I'm very big on this. Like, I'm not saying it's you and I'm not saying it's any woman ever, but I'm proud that I am a woman of like, break up with him. Like, in the sense of, if it's not working and you're willing to fix it and you have grown and you are healed and you have worked on it, and they, whomever they are, man or woman, either way, are still disrespecting you, not respecting your boundaries, doing the thing over and over and over again that you've asked them to stop, that's disrespect for yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, for yourself, there's no self-love there, which
and
is
if
just
you listened
self-respect.
to the previous episode and we spoke about our priorities and how to be in that true alignment, is you are number one, your partner is number two, and your family, are number three. Like, nothing, you should never allow any level of disrespect to yourself.
Yeah.
And absolutely try and fix it and communicate and work through it. But if that is not an option, sis, that ain't it.
Sis, that ain't it.
And if you were one of our besties and you were sitting here, we would be saying this to you like,
sis, that ain't it. Yeah.
Sis, that ain't it.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like so powerfully connected because it's almost the other way. And I don't actually know. I said to Katy, there's a question and I don't know what she meant, but I'm going to give it a meaning and we can answer it because it's powerful.
Okay.
But they said, my man's sex energy is affecting me to the point of, I think I know what this means. So my man's sex energy is affecting me to the point of me not wanting to have sex, but I love sex. So how do we fix it? Oh, so you're shocked. So how I interpreted that, so just so we know, because I think it's a beautiful juxtaposition, I took that as my man's sex energy is affecting me to the point of me not wanting to have sex, but I love sex, as in, and this could be wrong. So again, if this is your question, thank you so much. And it's not personal. And I want but how I'm interpreting this, and then this is where we're going to go from, is I feel like the sex energy from him is weak.
Yeah. Leaky.
Feminine or leaky. Right? Which is, I think, most households' problem today. Right? So I'm going to just like interpret that because I'm like, I didn't get it. Because here's what I know as a woman. It was a woman that asked. When a woman doesn't want to have sex, but you love sex, you don't respect your man. So you're not respecting him. The polarity's gone. The charge is gone in the relationship. And so you won't surrender. And you won't, like, he could throw you on the bed and you'd be like, get the fuck off me. If I'm thrown on the bed, I'm like, Daddy, take me now. Take me now. Because if there's that respect, there's that desire, that right? So for me, when
I could be dog tired, and if I'm thrown on the bed, honey,
take me now, right?
But
this is so powerful
it's the truth. Like,
so when a woman says, I love
although
sex,
if I'm really tired, he knows. He's like, yeah, honey, go.
Yeah, but also there's exhaustion.
Then there's real life tired.
But really, I just
need to sleep.
I need to go. But if someone is not wanting to have sex, but they love sex, I'm like, oh, you don't respect your man, which is not unhealthy and not mean and no disrespect. But for me, how do you fix that? You have a very honest, radically honest conversation, and you would never sit there. This is how I would fix it. You would never sit there and go, and it would come from such a place of love, right? Because you're like, oh, that's the truth. Like, I am, say, overworked, or I am, typically 99% of the time, that question is coming from a woman so deep in her masculine, healthy or but that provides, that works, that is assertive, that makes decisions, that controls, that, like, you're so in your masculine. When it comes time for your masculine to lead physically, emotionally, spiritually, and most importantly, sexually, you can't surrender and trust that. So how I would fix it.
And that could, like, to speak to that could absolutely be something that has compounded over time, where he was trying and was in that, like, healthy masculine, and he just got blocked 90%
of the time.
Yeah. And then they become this, like, weak, feminine, needy, emasculated, and, like, I fucking feel that cellularly. But it can be fixed too. Like, that's the beautiful thing with some really healthy communication.
Yeah.
And just understanding, like even just something so simple as being like, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah,
like that makes so much sense. That could be such a defining moment.
Yeah.
That it be like, oh, okay.
Definition.
Yeah.
But how I would fix it, and I've been here, so please know I've been here in previous relationships, like deeply.
Same.
Deeply. And how I fixed it, tried to fix it at the time. And then it's so actually powerful because I deeply tried to fix it. And there was a myriad of other things, obviously, which ended. But one of the ways is and how to do this from a healthy feminine communication kind of way, because the wounded feminine would sit there and blame, nag, and criticize, even from a loving place. So how it would look when you've just been activated and you're like, oh, I don't respect him. And I am exhausted and overworked. But when he's trying to ravish me, I can't surrender. But I want to be fucked, right? And can I say this is, in my opinion, 80% of women's problems right now, because they're all obsessed with, and I love it, like don't get me wrong, but the smutty romance novels. Do you know why I don't read them? Because my reality is better than them.
I don't read them.
I could write the book.
I don't read them.
I could write the book. So for me,
but like, what a beautiful perspective, because I feel the same. I was like, man, I could write my own fucking book.
Yeah, I can't read them because I'm like, this is boring.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like, I don't need to lose myself laying in bed and like no judgment.
No, never.
But
how powerful?
No judgment. Sorry, I won't say but. No judgment. And I'm not going to lay in bed next to the man, to the love of my life, the man that I've committed to, and be in this fictional fantasy, getting wet, but not doing anything. Like, absolutely not.
And then what happens, and this is where I know every woman is at, they're like, fuck you, because we're reading that, and I get it, but we want our king to do that, and he's not fucking doing it. So this is where, how do we fix it? So step number 1 is you take radical responsibility. It's not your fault, but you can take radical responsibility.
It's your life still.
Correct.
And it's something that you want.
Yeah. So step number 2 is communicating from the healthy feminine, which is not nagging, blaming, or criticizing. So the masculine deeply requires respect. That is their number 1 need. So when you have a conversation about this, it's from a beautiful intention of change, but it's from a beautiful intention of love and respect, deeply respect. So the way that I would do it and how I've done it in the past is like, I love you. Like, I respect you. And this is so activating for some women because they're like, fuck, I've never said this. But imagine sitting in front of the king, calling him forward, saying like, I respect your leadership in this house and our life. And so you're not like, what you need to do. So the wounded feminine would go, what you need to do is ravish me more because you don't do this and and I'm tired and this is and that's a wounded feminine. The healthy feminine would go, I respect you more than you know, and probably more than I've ever given you credit for. What I deeply desire is to be ravished by you and to be loved by you and to be fucked by you, or whatever that is. Like, read the book with him, for example, like whatever that truth is, and then say, how can we fix this? Like, what are some things that feel safe for you and let me tell you, and this is where you have to be a safe woman to receive what he's about to say, because what he might say is, oh my God, I've wanted to, I walk in the door and I look at you and I'm in love with you and I want to throw you against the wall. And that's what all the fucking novels are saying. So I'm not, I know. So it's like, I want to ravish you or fuck you, but you're tired or you're overworked, and you can say, baby, I hear you. And for me, it's because I am touched out or I'm over this. So let's create some time on a weekend where my sister can have the kids, or like maybe it is planned, right? Maybe it's like my sister can have the kids, or we get the babysitter and we like the kids go out or something, and we've got an hour or 2 hours to ourselves where the focus is that we get to know each other sexually again. Like,
and absolutely level. It is definitely like a reconnecting. And I can know, like, if this is speaking to some of the women who have gone through motherhood and that experience. Like I would still say I'm quite new and fresh into motherhood, like two children, a 2-year-old and almost a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old now. And there was absolutely a time after having my babies where I wanted to be fucked. Like I wanted that, like I wanted it, but I was exhausted. But the reality was that I'd actually forgotten how good it felt. And maybe this might be even like maybe not, because you're who knows?
Here we go.
Who knows? But like it definitely is a thing. Like sleep.
Were you about to say maybe this will be your experience?
Well, I'll just say like maybe you will be able to relate to this at some point in that early motherhood experience. Is that like in my head I wanted it, and we would talk about it, but then it got to like crunch time, and I was like, "Fuck." I wanted it when I wanted it, and now it's 8 p.m. and it's been a whole day, and now I'm tired again. But sometimes it actually was just like doing it anyway. And
can I ask you a question as a Bestie? Sure. My big thing is, and I've coached this in self-love school, because my belief is that I think as women, and I just know the feminine so well. So I'm like, I feel like as the feminine, I think 80% of women often have forgotten how good it feels, and they don't turn themselves on, and they don't like prioritize sensuality, which is the feminine to its core. And so they are absolutely and respectfully touched out, tuned out, tapped out, which I get. And a big thing for me is saying, then I hear this, oh, then he touches me and I pull away because he just expects sex. So my big thing that I have like drilled into Ryan, like from the get-go, is intimacy. Because
I was going to talk about this before. Yeah.
Intimacy is touch without sex.
Yeah.
And it's that, and that's what a woman needs. Now, a man actually needs to be like to fuck. Like a man needs sex, and that's healthy and natural and beautiful. And we get to give
the same for women.
Not the feminine.
No.
We need to be held and caressed and loved and touched.
Yeah.
And so
it's the cuddles. It's every time you walk past me, like touch my ass.
Yeah, like
the slow kisses, the meaningful kisses, like that. Like so much for a woman is what happened. Like for a woman to get to the point of like being willing and excited to have that moment with their partner is what happens in the 8, 12, 24 hours leading up to that experience.
And a lifetime.
And that's also the responsibility of the man too, is like if they're going to be in a shit mood and things are happening or whatever's going on, they also need to understand like, well, that's fine. I can be in this shit mood, but I can't turn around in an hour and expect she's going to be on and ready to go, because that like for us that's not how like that's not turning us on. So
mother, because this is like I think so my big thing I've always said in self-love school is like the biggest thing I hear in having coached thousands of women is like, I actually want to be like loved again and touched again, but I don't always want it to lead to sex, right? And I'm like, sis, I hear you. That's me right now. I'm like that likes sex multiple times a day. And so my thing that I say to women, and is like, tell your men from a non-nagging, non-criticizing kind of way, like, kiss me by the fridge for 2 minutes and hold me by the sink for a minute and tell me I'm beautiful and like stroke my hair and cuddle me on the couch without the expectation of sex. And then I will at some point like surrender to it. But I think the biggest thing, so something I said in self-love school is like, even in, because I'm savage, like I'm like, I allow women in the throes of newbornhood to absolutely be touched out and like you are keeping a newborn alive. But there are women with like 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds that are like, oh no, I don't fuck my husband, I'm exhausted. I'm like, babe, no. But then you cannot come at me and like be like, oh, and he has a porn addiction and fuck him. It's like, well, actually, he also has needs and desires just like you do. And how safe and beautiful and what an invitation to lean in and figure that out together.
Yeah.
Right? But I've said from the get-go with Ryan, I'm like, when we are in the newborn stage, your responsibility is to just hold me and love me. And there will be moments where I'm just like, yeah, I'll be touched out. I have no doubt. I might have a screaming newborn on my tit for 8 hours that day, or 12 hours, or 20 fucking 4 hours that day. But my responsibility as a feminine to receive and to be held is still to receive and be held.
Mm.
And I think that's the missing piece. I think as the feminine, from because it is typically mothers, I have to be honest. Like, I'm not a mother yet. I'm 36. I have the healthiest sex drive I know. And I can guarantee you, yeah, it probably will change when I have children. But my responsibility as a woman and as a feminine to myself is to stay in the honor of sensuality. And that is my responsibility to feel safe within my own self, to communicate that as like, hold me and love me and give to me, not sexually, but with intimacy. Thoughts.
Yeah.
Because you're the mother that's been there.
Yeah.
And go.
And I would just say, like, the word, like, what could be probably the triggering part of what the activating part of what you're saying is the word newborn.
Yeah.
Because technically newborn is 4 months.
Like,
no, like that.
Okay, but like, let's change the fucking language.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's exactly what I was going to say is like, let's talk baby.
Yeah,
because
like
that
months,
first
10 months,
like
yeah.
12 months.
Yeah.
And, but
Your
then
hormones
also
are cool.
like, but then this isn't like, because I'm like semi-birth nerd too. Birth nerd, conscious parenting nerd, fucking sensuality, dance nerd, like what all the things. But like what a woman's body goes through during pregnancy and birth is it absolutely takes 12 months for your body to recalibrate. That is that you have had a natural, unmedicated, undisturbed birth. Less than 30% of women have that experience. So you start having interventions. So like this is where it really comes back to. So it's like when you are pregnant, do the fucking work. Understand what your body's going through during pregnancy. Set yourself up. Birth is not a medical event. Get the fuck out of a hospital.
Getting angry.
I'm getting, but my point is out of this is that like so many women don't have a good birth experience. They don't navigate their birth trauma, and then they're in these relationships with like crazy sleep deprivation, which you're the part like you as a bestie have said to me when I've gone through like crazy periods with the girls that it's like, mate, like sleep deprivation is a fucking torture tool. Like it's intense, right? So I would just, but then I just want to come like, well, all I can speak to is my experience. And what I will say is that there has been moments where I have had to, in my own time, by myself, rediscover how good it feels to be pleasured. And once I got that, I was like, oh, like it made me want to go there again. But I needed to be on my own and have some time and space, you know. But yeah, like it is really hard, but it's so worth putting the work into. And it only, the more work you put into it, from again, my experience, it only gets better. The more you surrender so the more you communicate and the more you surrender to your man and the more you carve out time and space for them to show up for you in that way, and you make the commitment to yourself to turn yourself on and turn your life on and know what feels good for you, it only gets better from there. And the more you surrender, the more they show up, and then the sexier it gets. So it's like, but it all just has to kind of start from here. But like, I would just say, like, take the, speaking to the motherhood aspect of it, like just take the expectations off it. And he also needs to do that with you too. As in like once a week. Yeah, it's absolutely communication. But like the more you carve out the time and space for it, the more you kind of come back to that part of like, I do really find this man really sexy. And I love when he finds me sexy. And I love when we do this. And every time from there on in, it just gets better. So it's just so worth working on. And like we spoke about in the last episode, like especially as having girls, like I want my girls to know, not that they ever not that they ever know that aspect of us, but what happens behind those closed doors also affects how we show up collectively in our household behind our closed doors to our family.
I'm big on this actually. Like I've always like I'm so big on because I never saw it. So I'll speak personally. Like I mean it's so different. Okay, like I was raised in violence and things, but I've said to Ryan, like I can make it personal in this respect. Like I've said to Ryan, I want our kids to see us. Like I want them to see daddy loving mummy and holding mummy and kissing mummy and like the level of intimacy and love. So when they grow up, like there is nothing short of that shown to them. And it's not bickering and nagging and criticism, which is what I was raised with, and violence, right? And so I think to wrap this up, because I know we've been like 40-ish minutes, you're welcome. And this is a conversation that we can have. And like I said, I know that like, because the brave, brilliant, courageous women that ask these questions, people are going to be like, this is the conversations we need. There'll be more. But I think just know as the feminine in general, prioritize pleasure. Irregardless and external to your masculine, which is like the woman or the man, your greatest natural state is to receive. So when you compare receiving and pleasure, which again is the feminine, what you unlock is radiance and brilliance. And I think, yes, when you're in the throes of motherhood, and again, I will be absolutely honest, when I'm in the throes of motherhood, like, fuck, who was I to talk on this? But also, guess what I know is the truth of the matter. When I come back to my natural state of receiving and intimacy and love and connection and communication around, please just, like tonight, I'm exhausted, I'm tapped out, but I'm also so aware of your needs. And you need to feel love as well. And so, like tonight, I just need a massage, because when the masculine can give,
mate, we've had multiple massages that end in a good time. Sometimes it just needs to start with a massage, right? But like, that's what I mean. I know you're trying to wrap this up, but like on that, like it's like sometimes it's like you've got to put the reps in.
Yeah.
It's like going to the gym to get the
we pause for a flex. No, it's true.
But it is sometimes doing the things in the service to your man and vice versa. Like I know, like, and I've got a pretty fucking good husband, and I know not every woman has this husband, and I hope you all get a husband like mine. Well,
who's sitting on screen?
But I would say this, but I would absolutely say this irregardless, and I do say this all the time. Anyway,
things in front of them.
Yeah. I kind of forgot they were there for a minute. They're both two dark married boys. They're kind of shadows. They're kind of blending in.
I love you, baby.
No, but like so here is to the mothers too, that it's like my man does everything in his power within the capacity that he has to help. So he sees me. He sees what's on my plate. He sees my capacity, and in whatever ways he can, with no expectation of getting something out of it, but inadvertently by him taking some of that load off my plate, whether it be the household, the washing, the cooking of the dinner, the whatever it is, it creates time and space for us. To have those moments together. So it's fucking teamwork.
I was just about to say that you guys are phenomenal communicators, and like I've said, which I think is such a core distinction, again, it's so important for women to know, because I got in the trap years ago where I was like, oh, the feminine must keep the home. So I always say the masculine is the head of the home and the feminine is the heart. But it's not about the doing, right? So what I love about you and Luke and Ryan and I as well, because I just don't have kids yet, so I really honor and respect not touching that conversation. But as a woman, even in business, and we talked about this on the last podcast, when I've had a really long, hard, stressful, chaotic day in business, Ryan, you know, can acknowledge and see that in teamwork and might do dinner. Now, that's not feminine because he's cooking. It's like that's the masculine because he's recognized and assertively judged the situation and then given back to me. And so I'm receiving as the feminine, like that is one less thing off my plate. And so in that teamwork and that communication and that duality and that polarity, I get to still surrender. It's such a big conversation. Look, we will wrap it up because it has been like 45, 50, I don't know, 60 minutes. But this will be a conversation that we consistently have. I know it is one of the most important. I think the biggest thing that I always hope for women is that they just feel seen and heard in this conversation.
Yeah.
And I think as well that and I preface it at the start when I'm like, if something that we said, even if, because like we are gonna go there, sis. When Katy was like, get the fuck out of the medical system, like I am so pro that. No, but I'm just saying, like I'm so always aware of what will activate a woman potentially. And I get it because it's hard to take responsibility for the choices that we make in any aspect, sexually, physically,
I get that.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
So we aren't gonna go there. But it's like, give yourself permission, like challenge yourself to lean in. So
because when you know better, you can do better.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And like life will present you with people and circumstances to reveal where you're not free.
Yeah.
So when these things activate you and
like,
you get fired up about things, it's like that is the lean in, but then like it's also being like kind to yourself and being like, I didn't know that then. Like I have like, and those who kind of know a bit of my story, like especially with what I've been through with my daughter and those kind of things, like there's been lots of things that I've like really had to like forgive myself on. And it's been really hard and I've carried a lot of guilt with a lot of it. And I even talk to people because I'm like, but why did you make that decision? Because I just didn't know. Like we spoke about this yesterday, but you don't know what you don't know. But when you know better, you can do better. But when you know better and you stay ignorant and you don't pivot and you don't do better, then that's kind of on you. But we honor you for where you're at, and like you've got to kind of be really kind to yourself too and validate like where you've been,
and where you are.
And where you are.
You might be in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're there with you.
Yeah.
Like we're here to hold you.
Yeah.
And activate you.
Yeah.
I am that woman.
Yeah.
I think I'm always gonna be that woman. But we will wrap it up.
I don't mean to, but I kind of
do. We are who we are. No, but we love you. Thank you for tuning in. That was 2 episodes of the Bestie Q&A. I will absolutely making this a monthly or more thing. So let the questions that the other brilliant women asked be the permission slip for you when I futuristically put the question box up. And until next time,
stay loud.
Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, I hope you got something out of this conversation that you can use to challenge your own status quo. If you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you shared this episode on your socials to help get this podcast more out in the world. Don't forget as well to tag me personally at @thereal_Anna Rose so I can thank you personally. If you're also loving the conversations, leaving a review on iTunes by going to the podcast, scrolling down and clicking leave review will help even more amazing humans that need to find me and these conversations find me. As always, though, I am eternally grateful that you're tuning in. And until the next episode, know that I am always cheering on your sovereignty and success.